As women, our periods are our fifth vital sign, and it is so important that we are nourishing our bodies and paying attention to all the signs and symptoms that our wombs and our menstrual cycles are communicating to us. And for me, my relationship with my womb was brought about by years of missing my period due to overexercise and undereating, and a very, very, very severe eating disorder that almost took my life. And so my relationship with my cycle has been one of waxing and waning just like the moon. And connecting to my feminine nature has really allowed me to bring my cycle back into harmony and also see my cycle as this fifth vital sign, as this cosmic communicator of my health. When she is missing, I know that things are out of balance and I know the ways to bring my body back into harmony. And when she is here, I can rest assured knowing that my body feels safe enough to procreate life and feels healthy enough to have a vibrant and nourished cycle. That being said, it was definitely a journey towards bringing my cycle back after years of not having it. And so I wanted to share a little bit about my story and then share all of the ways that I gained my period back in a consistent manner. So why do we lose our periods in the first place? It's important to understand that when our bodies feel stressed out, the first thing that gets shut off is our reproductive functioning, because it is the one system in our body that is not necessary for our bodies to exist. It is necessary for humanity and our species to continue on, but it is not important for those fight or flight responses. It's not important for our physical body to exist. And so when we are chronically stressed, when we are under eating, when we are telling our bodies that they are not safe in a variety of ways, then our cycle can be missing. And that was the case for me. And so I wanted to tell you guys a little bit about my story and journey and then share all of the ways that I brought back a consistent cycle to my body. Okay, so first and foremost, my story. I struggled with an eating disorder all growing up, and so that meant that I never really got a consistent cycle. I got my first cycle when I was 15, and that was after my younger sister got hers, and I just felt like I was a late bloomer. But I was also in treatment for my eating disorder, and they always said that I would be weight restored once I got my cycle back. And so I had this little voice in the back of my head and within my team telling me that my cycle indicated how healthy I was, and it being here meant that I was at a healthy place in my body. And so once I got her back, I really celebrated that crimson communication. I really dropped into that feeling of knowing that I would one day be able to be a mother, because not having my cycle was really scary for me, because I always wanted to be a mom and I knew that without my cycle I wouldn't be able to be one. And so I really fought hard to get my mind and my mental space to a place where I felt comfortable nourishing myself and just felt more balanced mentally, physically, and spiritually. And so that was really the journey of getting my period back for the first time, or getting my period for the first time in general. But then I definitely still struggled with overexercise and undereating for the majority of my reproductive years thus far. And it has only been within the past 2 years that I have regained a more consistent cycle. And so I wanted to kind of dive into how I went about doing that. And the first thing that I did was exercise less. And for people that have a very controlled relationship with exercise or have a very specific unhealthy relationship with exercise, that can be really scary. But what I learned was that it's actually counterintuitive for women to be pushing their bodies to extreme extents all of the time. And that's because we damage our metabolism doing that. Our bodies wax and wane, and there are times when our cortisol is higher and our metabolism is higher as well, and we need to slow down and do those restorative exercises. And if we push our bodies through intense workouts, we actually end up holding onto weight and damaging our metabolism overall. And so I started slowing down. I used to be a runner. I stopped running. I started walking more. I started going to yoga. And what I found was that I was healing a lot of old injuries and also healing my womb at the same time. And lo and behold, my cycle started to come back. There were times when I would not get my cycle for 6 months at a time. And I was scared that I had PCOS, but in reality, I was just over exercising and having hypothalamic amenorrhea. And so I started slowing down. I switched to low impact exercise for a long period of time until I got my cycle back for 3 consecutive cycles. And then once my period returned for 3 consecutive cycles, I started cycle syncing my workouts, which I have videos linked for what that would look like. And overall, my body has just felt more rested, more feminine, and just feels like it can tolerate stress a lot better. And that is the whole goal, because when our bodies are stressed out chronically, we lose our cycles because our bodies do not feel safe. In addition to exercising less and at a lower intensity, I started eating more, and that actually scared me so much when I was in the thick of my eating disorder and in the thick of my healing journey with my body and my relationship to food and movement. But it is so crucial to replenish your body and remind your body that it is safe and taken care of and has an abundance of resources around it from a biological perspective. And from an energetic perspective, giving yourself freedom, food freedom, movement freedom, and just freedom within being able to nourish yourself to your heart's content, to your body's content, to your womb's content, and just be that puzzle piece that really helps your body feel safe and secure, because it is so fundamental as a human to have enough resources. And if you're not having enough resources or eating the right things or enough of the right things, then your body is going to be stressed out because it is not getting what it needs and it is in a state of starvation. So if there are 2 things that you take away from this video, let it be slowing down, exercising less, and eating more and nourishing your body completely. And from there, those are the baseline things that you should be doing and then building upon them. And when I say eating more, I definitely do not necessarily recommend counting calories, but in the beginning, it can be really helpful to give you a ballpark number of what you are consuming. And the bare minimum for getting your body's cycle to return is 2,500 calories, and that can be really scary for people that are used to hearing the 1,200 calories a day for women to lose weight, 1,800 calories a day to maintain, 2,000 calories a day, all of that garbage. When you are eating high vibrational nourishing foods, it is really hard to overeat on those foods. And so just eating to your heart's content, eating until you are full, and then sometimes a little bit past that when you're trying to get your period to return is the sweet spot. So that is what I recommend. And I also really recommend having a team. I worked with a nutritionist throughout my entire journey, and it was really helpful to have that supportive person to fall back onto and to remind me that, yes, we are doing the right thing. No, you are not being greedy. No, you are not being gluttonous, or any of those words that I was putting onto myself. So that is really helpful. And from that baseline, I started to learn about specific nutrients that are beneficial for bringing my period back. And one of those is protein. Making sure you are getting enough protein helps give your body the building blocks that it needs to create enough hormones, because proteins get broken down into amino acids, and then those amino acids are the building blocks for our hormones, which give us a healthy cycle. So what I learned to be true was trying to get about 30 grams of protein at every single meal and about 15 grams at snacks. And I was eating 3 meals and 3 snacks a day roughly. And that really helped give my body what it needed to get my cycle back. And so great forms of protein are wild caught fish, grass-fed meats, eggs, pasteurized eggs, and grass-fed dairy products. I love to eat those forms of protein because they're very bioavailable. I would also reach for chicken and turkey as long as they were pasture raised, but I found that I loved the more nutrient dense meats to replenish my body and give it all of those healthy omega-3 fatty acids, which also is another nutrient that our bodies need to create hormones and to feel nourished and healthy and happy. So eating a lot of foods rich in omega-3 fatty acids like wild caught fish, sardines are a really great option, tuna, salmon, all of those sorts of things. You can also get omega-3s from grass-fed meats. As long as they are grass-fed and pasture-raised, they are going to be high in omega-3 fatty acids. So ground beef, grass-fed steaks, and those sorts of things. Pasture-raised dairy products are also high in omega-3 fatty acids. Pasture-raised eggs are really high in them. And then certain nuts and seeds are also really high in them, like chia seeds, flax seeds, and walnuts. Going off the conversation of fats and healthy fats, getting in a lot of nourishing fats is really beneficial because they are a very great way of getting in nutrient-dense food and allowing our bodies to absorb vitamins and minerals such as vitamin E and vitamin A and vitamin K, because those are fat-soluble vitamins. So I would always include healthy fats like extra virgin olive oil, nuts like pumpkin seeds and flax seeds, avocados, cheese, and different types of oils like coconut oil and just pure coconut butter, nut butters. Those sorts of things were very common in my meals and still continue to be very common in my meals. And that leads me into the next conversation about getting in enough vitamins and minerals. The most important vitamin that I was concerned about getting was vitamin D. And so you can receive that by sitting in the sunshine, but you can also get it from those same meats that I talked about, like pasture-raised meats, pasture-raised eggs, wild-caught fish. But also putting your mushrooms out in the sunshine, if you were to get mushrooms from the store, can be a really great way of increasing your vitamin D intake because they start to create vitamin D when you set them out in the sun because they are fungi and they are part animal kingdom and part plant kingdom, which is really beautiful. Vitamin D is a precursor for hormones. Some people actually even classify it as a hormone itself. It is crucial for hormone production, so getting in enough of it is really important for hormone balance overall, but also for getting your period back and communicating to your body that it is safe and in an environment that can raise a healthy baby. I also made sure that I was getting in a lot of B vitamins, which is found in pasture-raised eggs, pasture-raised meats. I feel like I'm just reiterating myself. They're also found in nuts, in seeds, and legumes, and those sorts of foods, also avocados. B vitamins are really important for our fertility. They're really beneficial for creating estrogen and stimulating our follicle growth during the follicular phase to allow an egg to be released at ovulation, which is the setting stages for allowing our cycles to return. And so B vitamins are really important, especially folate, which is going to be supporting our fertility. I also made sure that I was eating a wide variety of vitamins and minerals to make sure that my body was getting vibrancy from the fruits and vegetables that I was eating. And so I shot for trying to get 30 different plants a week, and I still shoot for that number, and sometimes I even exceed it, and it's really easy during the summer months. But a really beautiful way to do that is to shoot for 2 to 3 different vegetables at every single meal throughout the day and eating fruits and smoothies and fruit salads as snacks throughout the day. That's a really great way to include in different plants into your diet. I also learned about different supplements that were supportive for bringing my cycle back, and one of those was D-chiro-inositol and myo-inositol. Those are really great at supporting our reproductive functioning and allowing for a mature egg to be developed and released at ovulation. And that, like I said before, is the foundation of having a healthy cycle. And so I would be taking about 2,000 milligrams of that twice a day to allow my body to fall back into balance. And additionally, with that, I was taking a variety of herbs that allowed my body to sync to a natural cycle. And so I would break up the herbs that I would take into a simulated follicular phase and a simulated luteal phase to help my body find balance naturally and find a rhythm. So what I would do is I would create a simulated follicular phase and a simulated luteal phase, and I would cycle herbs depending on where I was at in my cycle. And I followed a moon cycle to give myself a blueprint for that. And I cycled different herbs during the 2 phases. So during the follicular phase, I really leaned into shatavari to give my body an adaptogen to allow for my follicles to be stimulated and develop a mature egg for ovulation to happen. I also had white peony, Chinese white peony, and dongui as 2 herbs that were helping that process take place as well as licorice root and red clover to act as an estrogen, a phytoestrogen during that phase. And then during my luteal phase, which I decided to be from the full moon until the new moon, I would cycle sync herbs like chaste berry and maca to simulate progesterone production and find a natural balance with my hormones there. And then I would also have some more blood building herbs like red raspberry and those sorts of things to tonify my womb. And what I found was that helped my body find a natural hormone balance and a natural rhythm for hormone production. And I really do believe that that practice was one of the most crucial things for helping my body find a consistent cycle month after month after month. And then additionally, I would also seed cycle. So during my follicular phase or from the new moon until the full moon, I would use flaxseed and pumpkin seeds, which are rich in different minerals and nutrients like vitamin E and different lignans or phytoestrogens to help build estrogen during the follicular phase. And then during my luteal phase or from the full moon until the new moon, I would lean on the seeds of sesame and sunflower. And those herbs are really beautiful at building blood and building progesterone. And so those practices were also really amazing. And according to Chinese medicine, seeds are really beneficial for our reproductive function overall, because if you think about a seed, it holds the potential of life, and so it has a lot of minerals and a lot of phytoestrogens and lignans that are really just kickstarting that process of reproduction in our bodies. Additionally, I just started to pay attention to my womb. I started to place my hands on my womb. I started to do a lot of womb meditations, a lot of somatic practices, a lot of conversations and womb web exercises, and just beautiful practices that allowed me to have a conversation and to feel safe and to feel more feminine. I started to track the moon cycles. I started to spend more time moon bathing, which was a really beautiful practice where I would just lay outside in the moon and bathe, or find a body of water at night and bathe in the light of the moon. And what I found to be true is that moonlight is equally as important for our health and for our well-being as sunlight is. Moonlight really dictates and tells our bodies as females when to produce an egg, when to produce certain hormones, when to wax, when to wane, when to ebb, when to flow. And so connecting to the moon and tapping back into that feminine nature was really a very crucial part of my healing journey, and continues to be a very important part of who I am and my relationship to my cycle. Lastly, I turned to different health professionals like acupuncturists who are really beneficial for bringing balance to our cycles, whether you're struggling with period pain, hormonal acne, mood swings, infertility, or missing periods overall. They're really beneficial. I also turned to naturopathic doctors to get my hormones tested, and I turned to chiropractors to bring my body back into balance. I leaned on somatic practitioners to move stagnant energy and stuck energy through my body. And I turned to holistic nutritionists and herbalists to teach me what it was like to nourish my body and what it means to be a cyclical woman and what my hormones are doing. Additionally, I found ways to lower stress overall, because stress on our bodies, like I talked about before, is what is going to be telling our minds, bodies, and spirits that we are unsafe and cannot recreate and procreate life. And so reducing stress and moving energy through our bodies is really important. I found that somatic exercises and somatic practices were some of the most beneficial things for me personally. I went through talk therapy, I went through a lot of different practices, through treatment and everything like that, but dancing, shaking, moving, and getting Reiki was really beneficial for my energetic state and for moving stuck energy through my body. I also find that daily journaling was really important for tuning into my energetic space and reducing stress and anxiety. Creating art as a somatic and an energetic and a spiritual practice was crucial for me. I created every single day, and I continue to create every single day. Dropping into our sacral chakra, which is where our womb lies, is really beneficial. So getting your hands dirty and playing with mud and making pottery, or writing and painting, or drawing, or cooking, or creating clothes, anything that sparks that creative energy and taps you into your parasympathetic nervous system, activates your vagus nerve, which connects our hearts down to our wombs, is a very beneficial practice. Humming, singing, and breath work are also really beautiful for releasing energy and just calming anxiety and stress overall. A simple meditation and breath work that I like to do is to simply put one hand over the heart and one hand over the womb, and to breathe in for a count of 5 and to exhale for a count of 7, and just continue to do that while placing my attention on my womb and then bringing my attention up to my third eye space, or the space in between my eyebrows, and then continue to do that and slowly move my awareness to the space outside of my third eye and the space surrounding my womb, to place me into my body before I place myself outside of my body, and notice the shift in energy there. So those are all of the practices and the tools that I've learned over the years to help me heal my relationship with my body, and to help me bring my period back into a cyclical rhythm, to bring my period back month after month after month. Our periods are a monthly report card of what is happening in our bodies and why it is so important that we are taking care of ourselves. They are a crimson communication of what's going right and what's going wrong, and a monthly opportunity for us to pay attention to our deep states of health. I hope that you enjoyed this video. I hope that you were able to take away little nuggets of wisdom for yourself or for your loved ones. And if there's anything else in regard to women's health or cyclical living that you guys feel called to learn about from me, definitely comment it down below, and I will continue to be creating content for women's health and for cyclical living and for herbal allies and just all of the natural and holistic living tips that I have to offer. Thank you all so much for being here. I'm sending you all so much love. Until next time, bye.